growing in limited space has so many challenges, and some growing space indoors are more critical than others. This space is used for both my indoor garden and for my worm farming business. So I have very little space and it is not the ideal space to grow. Why? Because there is no heat in here. There is no windows. There is no natural airflow. So growing in this region is very challenging because without the proper airflow, if you have a pest infestation, it becomes more difficult to get them under control. There is no natural light. And because it is indoors, it means that there are no natural predators that are coming in to help you to maintain the garden. So, is it possible to grow indoors with all these challenges? And that is the reason I am showing you my indoor garden, because I wanted to get into the minds of those who want to grow a garden but then their condition is not favorable, and so they give up rather than trying to make the conditions that they have work for them. So the purpose of this indoor garden, apart from being able to grow year round for my family, is to show others that you can overcome any challenge if you have the right mindset and the right attitude towards growing indoors. Yes, it will be more challenging, but the more you do it, the more you're going to be learning, and the more you learn and put what you learn into practice, the easier it becomes, and eventually it will be just like a walk in the park. So each month I will be giving you a tour of the garden. So the first week of every month, I'll be giving you a tour of the garden so you can see the progress, the challenges, and the things like that that the garden is going through, and you can know whether or not this is a worthwhile venture, something that you would want to embark on. So let's start over here with my tiered garden, and this part of the garden is facing the southwest of the property. And in this bed I have my chocho or chayote, and I have cabbages are members of the cabbage family that I started from seed, so those reddish ones over there. These four here that you're looking at, that one and that one over there, this one and that one, these are all regrown cabbages grown from the core of store-bought cabbages. They're struggling for space, and so they're out competing each other. Since the last video that I did showing you these regrown cabbages, I've harvested from this one twice already. Excuse me. For those of you who follow me, you know that I am big into regrowing vegetables because it saves you time having to start from seed, having to deal with issues of growing seedlings, waiting for seeds to germinate. My belief is that you should always have something to harvest. Anyway, let's not take too much time on that. So down here we have a pak choi in that corner that is producing seeds, looking as if it is dying. Regrown cabbages and leeks and onions, not onions, green onions. Down here we have our turmeric cabbages that are being regrown, not cabbages but broccoli, that not being regrown but cut and used for experiments, so they're being experimented on. And there is my potatoes. Up here we have, let's start from this end, we have our kale and potatoes and Chinese cabbages that I am attempting to regrow, and more green onions. Over here we have more kale and all of these pineapple tops that I am regrowing from store-bought pineapple, and in between them are radishes that I am regrowing for the foliage, and a few beets that I just put in that are being regrown for foliage as well. All of these are regrown beets and I harvest them every 2 weeks. And my pak choy and lettuces. Now in here I harvested my thyme, and this section is a bit on the colder side, so the thyme is not doing well. It has a few young sprouts coming up, but chances are I might have to get rid of this plant and restart it. My sage. Now this bed in particular is directly over the heater, and it is one that dries out rather quickly and require quite a lot of maintenance. It is not a very productive bed, and that's the bitter truth. It is not very productive apart from the sage and the thyme. The thyme was very prolific, but since it got much colder, then the thyme has not been doing so well. And then down here we have my carrots, and this is the last time that I am planting carrots like these or any other garden like this where it's just one particular type of plants. All my plants will be companion planted. Now over there are the younger carrots, and these ones are not doing well, and the reason they're not doing well is because of aphids. The poor little things, when you look on the stem of the poor little carrot plants, it is just covered with aphids. So worm tea and diatomaceous earth and anything that will work I've been using to help to keep the aphids at bay. Now over here we have our main bed, and of all my beds this is the one that struggles the most with aphids. We have our Scotch bonnet pepper plant. Over in the corner there we have more green onions. In this row here we have yellow yam that is just coming up, and my basil plant, it's getting old, needs to be retired. This other basil plant needs to be retired as well. This guy is not doing so well, so it is sending up new shoot there. That's my yellow yam, and this basil plant also needs to be retired. I am not sure what happened to my fever grass or lemongrass, but something seemed to be going on with it, and so it is now turning yellow, so I might have to cut it back and see if it will regrow. And then I have my cocoa, or cocoa yam as some call it. Over here I made some fertilizer from food scraps, and I think I made it too strong, so I burnt up my yellow yam, poor thing. And over here is my chayote plant, and this is what the aphids seem to love the most in my garden. That chayote plant is just, oh Lord, it doesn't stand much of a chance with these guys. So covered it in diatomaceous earth, and it is due for another fertilizer or fertilizing. And then over here, this bed did well through the spring and through the summer of last year into the early fall, and then everything in it that I put in it just struggles or die. Would you believe me if I told you that 2 weeks ago I had, what is it, garlic in here, and they died. Everything I've planted at least 3 or 4 sets of potatoes in here, and they died. I've had beans in here during the summer and the spring. They did well. I harvested and everything, but once the fall ended, everything in here that I plant in here just died. But this is the north side of the property, so it could be that they are cold. This bed also has an issue with aphids, and aphids do like to go on the potatoes and ravish them. So I planted more beans and they looked as if they were gonna die. And so in my one of my previous videos, I showed you where I've found a breakthrough with my garden, and you'd have to go and see that video because it is that breakthrough that I found that is allowing all of these potatoes to be growing and looking so well. So they're able to combat whatever is going on in the beds. So this bed definitely, without a doubt, it has a challenge, and I don't think it is all related to not having enough heat because about 2 feet behind me is a heater. So I don't think it is completely related to heat. I think there is something going on with this bed that I am not sure of just yet, but I will figure it out. But this breakthrough that I found has been giving my plants an additional fighting chance so that it will be able to survive. So in addition to the diatomaceous earth and everything, these plants are starting to look up. Now here we have quite a few volunteer pumpkins, and I am just gonna let them grow because of the issue with the aphids and because everything that goes into this bed struggles. I want to see if the volunteer plants, because volunteer plants for whatever reason always seem to perform better than the ones that we plant. So I'm going to allow them to stay to see what happens with them, and also just in case I should lose one or two, I still have the other. So that is why I'm going to allow those to stay. So over here we have more volunteer pumpkins coming up. So this is February's tour. Let me know if you're growing indoors and what are the challenges that you face in your indoor garden and how you are dealing with it. So follow along every month. The first week of every month, you'll be getting an update on this garden to see how well it is doing or how poorly it is doing. The challenges and solutions that I found, I will be sharing those with you. So